Hey everyone, and welcome to Mom and Me Unfiltered, the podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relatable. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Zuni, and we're here to share unfiltered conversation about life, love, family, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits, from generational differences to parenting perspectives. We're diving deep, we're laughing loud, and we're learning as we go.
So let's grab a cup of coffee, let's get comfy, and let's get into today's episode.
Today's episode is going to be how my generation survived without cell phones. Let's talk about it. So, how our generation survived without cell phones? I don't know. I don't know because it's so convenient now
Mm-hmm.
to not have to walk to a corner or find a corner that has a payphone.
Yeah, because my generation, we didn't grow up with phones until 2010.
Well, you had a cell phone when you were
Yeah, but
walking to school. You were like, what,
but
10?
but not like cell phone like we have today, but
You still had a cell phone.
sure,
You
but
still had a cell phone. We had no cell phones. We had no way of communicating with anyone in the family unless we had a house phone.
oh,
We sent them a mail, a letter in the mail.
carrier pigeon.
I never tried to carry a pigeon, but that could have been an option. But if we wanted to make a phone call, it had to be either at a payphone or at the house. There was nowhere else, or if we got sick in school, the school would have to call the parent because we weren't able to text our parent or call our parent directly. And there were no phones in the schools for us to have access to. So if something happened to us in school, we either had to go to the office to call our parent or to the nurse's office to call our parent.
Yeah, I remember that.
If something happened to you in the street, you didn't know right away. Like you weren't notified right
Oh
away
my
because
God,
there
yes.
were no cell phones. And if people didn't know who you were when something happened to you in the street, it could have taken days before anyone knew what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that at now that I have a cell phone is a scary thought of how did we go through life back then without technology and without having cell phones and without having all the information we have now in our hands. Like at the drop of a hat, I can
Yeah.
have all this information. Google, I couldn't Google anything back when I was in school. And for us, really, in the beginning, there was no such thing as video games and
Yeah, you had to
the
use those
internet.
retro games. Joystick.
Well, no, not even because we had what Connect Four. Those are our games. Twister. Those were,
Monopoly.
but those were our games. Those were the things that we did indoors because we didn't have cell phones or we watched television. And even watching television, we didn't have cable TV. We didn't have cable TV like that. We had a regular TV with an antenna that
You guys have the tube TV.
if we couldn't see the picture, we had to move the antenna until we could see the picture. So that's the kind of
That's
like
wild.
exactly.
That's wild.
And it's wild that the generation now takes it for granted, like all the things that you have
Now we got screaming.
in your hands. Like you guys have so much access to so many things that we never had access to. In order to get together with your friends, you had to make the plans at school and say, okay, we'll meet somewhere on such and such a day at a certain time, because we couldn't make plans other than that, or we had to call each other over the phone and say, hey, do you want to come outside and play? Because there were no text messages and there were no cell phones.
You can be
So-
like, you want to meet up? Okay, let's go.
right, and if you would call your friend and your friend was already out, then you have no one to like hang out with, because you're gonna have to stay home because your friend is out already.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, growing up with no technology is crazy. We didn't have computers. Like, I was a teenager.
You grew up in the time of the dinosaurs.
Even in high school, the craziness is in high school, I even had a typewriting class. We were learning to type in high school because
A typewriter?
a typewriter, because technology wasn't a thing just yet. Technology wasn't as big as it is now. Like,
Wow.
everyone didn't have computers, and everyone didn't have cell phones, and everyone didn't. Not everyone even had phones.
That's
Some people
true.
had no phones, so some people you had to write a letter to them or go visit them physically and pray that they were home, because there was no way of knowing if people were home back then also, because you couldn't call them before you went. You just had to show up and pray that they were home, because there was no way of knowing if they were going to be there.
That's crazy. Whereas in this day and age, you could be like, yo, you home?
Right,
Fine,
you can
I'm
text
gonna
or call. Right, you can text or call and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna come over." You can plan ahead, but and the way things are now, kids don't seem to go outside and play anymore. It's like
That's
playgrounds are just
true.
bare, even though, in certain neighborhoods it's even dangerous to go outside and play in the playground because people just ruin that for kids as well. It's bad enough that technology is taking over and all kids want to do is have their faces in the screen, but to have, all of these things happen near playgrounds or at playgrounds where kids should be out there enjoying their lives and playing and being active, adults and teens have to, ruin that for them, ruin that experience for them.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, children aren't as active now as they were back in my time.
Yeah.
Everyone was in gym class, everyone was participating, everyone was outside during recess playing in the playground and running and burning calories. Now, kids aren't burning off those calories.
Yeah.
Because they're busy texting or busy watching YouTube or Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah. When I was younger, I remember going out with my cousins and just playing and just being on my bike or scooter or whatever and getting physical. Even at school when I was in elementary, up until middle school.
So you do know how to ride a bike.
Well, not a bike.
You said a bike.
I still had a well,
Tricycle?
tricycle. I still had my training wheels.
That's not a bike.
Bike,
is-
tricycle, whatever.
that is not a bike.
They bought me a bike, but they put the training wheels on
And never took them
themselves.
off. And never took them off.
Yeah. I was supposed to learn.
We'll teach you. how to ride.
I was
That's-
supposed to learn.
I think it's so important for kids to learn how to ride a bike. I think everyone should learn and know how to ride a bike.
I don't get it.
It was an experience for me, let me tell you. Because I think I had to be somewhere between 8 and 9 years old when I learned to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And it was brutal. It was so brutal learning to ride a bike because I had no training wheels and I learned with no training wheels. Do you know how many times I fell? Do you know how many scrapes and cuts and bruises I had from falling off that bike. And I was not giving up. I was not giving up no matter how many times I fell. I got right back up on that bike and kept going until I finally got it. And I finally learned that summer how to ride a bike.
I wish I had had the time to learn that on my own at Florida.
See, but that's the thing about my generation as well. We had no training wheels. We took all that abuse and all them beatings. Like
And that's
we all
why.
those scrapes. And, till this day, I still have the scars from learning how to ride a bike on my knees.
Funny, I'd never noticed. But yeah, that's why your generation is so desensitized to pain. Y'all used and abused.
No training wheels with no training wheels. And that's crazy because I understand, you know, I didn't have my own bike. I was learning on someone else's bike. But they could have at least held on to the bike, you know,
Yeah.
and not let it go until I was, you know, confident that I could do it. But I didn't even get that. It was just go. Do it. They held it up while I got on it and while I started. After that, I was on my own.
Hey, it
And
was you did the sink or swim method. You
if
did
I
the sink or swim method.
if I went a few feet and fell, it was like get back right back up and do it all over again.
I didn't have that.
That was yeah, that was insane. I would have thought you spent a lot of summers in Florida and that by now you would have learned to ride a bike. So it's kind of
No.
it makes me sad that you don't.
Though I think the only reason I never was on the bike often is because it was rare for me to be on the tricycle, not bike.
Yeah, but
But I was mostly at the pool anyway, so I was swimming.
okay, and that's great.
And that was
But
my favorite thing to do. I would love swimming.
right, but that's great. But it would have been nice for you to also learn to ride a bike because that's every kid should learn. Every kid should know how to ride a bike.
Wow.
I know it
I never
didn't happen,
learned.
and someone should have taken the time to.
Well, I was supposed to learn during the pandemic. It never happened, though.
A lot of things never happened.
I know a lot of things never happened.
But yeah, in my generation, there were so many things that we did and went through that your generation never got to experience and are not very active, which is sad because, you know, being out in the sun is important as well.
Yeah.
You know, getting that
Uh-huh.
vitamin D is another, not only being active, but getting that vitamin D from being outside is also important. And being active, you know, is also important.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps you healthy being active as well. So just having your face in a computer or the phone is not the best way to grow up. It's like your generation is missing out on so much. Because although I fell learning to ride a bike, you know, it's memories that I have and it's fond memories that I have of things that I experienced and it's things that I did outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I got to learn and something that I got to do. And although I learned it the hard way, it was still, you know, a fond memory that I have of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And we were always outside because there was nothing to do inside. The only thing that we had to do inside was either play games or watch TV. And that's not something that we wanted to do. And the only other thing is that they were trying to teach me how to either knit or crochet.
Oh my God, I love learning to knit.
It didn't stick. It didn't stick.
I remember some of what I was taught for knitting.
For some reason, for me, learning to knit just wasn't something that I wanted to do, or it just didn't call to me. It just didn't seem like something I wanted to do. I didn't find it interesting or fun, or
It's okay.
I just didn't.
It's just something that
It just didn't interest me.
interesting.
Right. I had no interest in it. So I just never really learned. I learned, but then I forgot. It's like if you don't practice and you don't continue to do
Yeah,
something, you forget it because you have no interest in continuing it. So you're like, okay, I learned how to do it at that point, but now I really don't want to do it because it's
yeah,
not something I want to do.
yeah. I think I made like this like mini scarf situation back
I
when I was in after school program because that's when I started to learn.
I made a square. That's as far as I got. I made like a little square or something. That was it. And that was all I did. I didn't want to do anything else.
You made a woolen coaster. A woolen
Not.
coaster.
I don't even think it was big enough to be a coaster. And I think it was actually eventually just taken apart because it just was not nothing.
It fell apart.
I just left it and just didn't want to deal with it and just left it alone. But crocheting and knitting is something that I would go back to now and I would like to learn it and do it now. But back then, that wasn't something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to go running. I wanted to play games with my friends. I wanted to go swimming. And, I wanted to go climb rocks. That was one of my favorite things also. Kids don't climb rocks. The rock climbing they do now is rock climbing on a wall that's like pre-made with
Nah,
like things.
nah.
I used to love climbing trees. When do you see kids climbing trees now?
You know what's funny? I used to try to climb trees. Never could do it because I didn't want to leave the ground.
I loved climbing trees.
I never got to that point where I was able to climb the tree.
It was kind of hard to get down from the trees because especially because I was short and well, just still short, but um climbing the trees was easy for me getting up and climbing it, but getting down because I've always been short was
Mm-hmm.
kind of difficult. So it was always a nightmare to try to get down. And I would always scrape myself because I would have to slide. I would have to slide down.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I would get scrapes from climbing the tree. But just because that would happen, it didn't stop me from wanting to climb a tree. Like every time I saw a tree, I
You
just wanted
know,
to climb.
you're part monkey.
I'm not
You're
part
part
monkey.
monkey.
I just like climbing trees and I like climbing rocks. I like doing
I like climbing rocks too. You know those like little rock formations in the park?
mhm.
Used to love climbing those.
But for me, it was more of I didn't have sisters. I had brothers. So
Uh,
I wanted to do everything the boys were doing because I didn't have females around besides my mother
mm-hmm.
to play with. And, I had female cousins, but we were all doing the same things. Like we were all running around doing the same things, like climbing trees and climbing rocks. And
I think it's just every child that does that. Like it doesn't matter if you've got male siblings or female siblings, you're always gonna want to climb a tree or climb rocks and just run around. It's child behavior.
but also like um, doing things like wiffle ball and baseball.
What the heck is wiffle ball?
What is wiffle ball? Okay. So it's like baseball, but it's just with a different type of ball. The ball is like kind of hollow and it's just plastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference.
So like baseball, but with
And
a
and
hollow ball.
wiffle ball is basically indoors while baseball is outdoors.
Oh, okay.
So we would do
Yeah,
that in
we've
gym
never heard of
class.
that.
We would do that in gym class. So those things I was introduced to in school and I grew fond of doing those things. And as I grew, I still was fond of those things. I still enjoy playing sports. Like if you give me a ball and a bat, yes, I'm gonna play baseball if you want me to, because I've just always enjoyed being active. And I believe that's most of the people in my generation because we grew up doing all of these things. So at this age, if you tell us, hey, do you want to, play a game of wiffle ball, baseball, or volleyball, we're going to say yes because it's nostalgic to us as things that we did growing up.
I think that my generation technically does like sports, but it's just like a interesting. Like some of us like swimming or running. I guess it's different sports that we're interested in. Like
So,
for me, I like running and I like swimming, but any other sport I'm not very interested in.
right. So, the crazy thing is like learning to ride the bike and falling down and getting hurt so many times. There was no cell phone for me to call my mother or call my family, say, oh, I fell from trying to learn to ride a bike, I hurt myself, or whatever happened. There was no way of communicating with anyone. And one day I felt really, really bad that I was so scared that I hurt myself so bad that I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there was nobody to call. And I was kind of like in summer camp with a different family. I wasn't with my parents or with my mother. And I was so scared that day that I hurt myself so bad. But again, the fear just went away after a few minutes and I got right back on the bike. I got right back up on that bike and and kept going. And to think about it today and all of the things that I've experienced growing up and all of the things that I've lived through
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about today, the way I live now, that I'm able to communicate with anyone at any time that I need to is kind of crazy because I lived in the time where we had no way of communicating with people right away. If we wanted to call the police and we had no phone, we still had to go to a payphone. Back in those times, there was
What?
this red box.
Oh, I think I know what you're
It was like
talking
this
about.
red long box on the corners that had like the flip switch where you would call the police or the fire department.
Yeah,
And we were so bad as kids.
I think it's called the police box. Um,
I thought it was just mainly for the fire department because it was red. So we would
you did not.
we as kids we know that it's for the fire department. So as kids, of course,
You didn't.
we want to flip the switch because we want to see the fire truck.
Oh my god.
So yes, I did unfortunately flip the switch. Every kid did it. I wasn't the only one.
You did what every other person does nowadays, and that's why you have that penalty now.
Listen, I was a kid.
Prank calling the freaking.
I wasn't well.
Technically, it was a prank call.
Technically, it was not. But you know, I did it because I wanted to see it. After that, I never touched that box ever again.
I am so glad I never did anything like you guys.
Kids will be kids, and kids always do dumb shit.
Yeah, no, I've done some
Exactly.
dumb stuff
Even-
myself, but
Even once in your life, as a kid, every kid does something dumb. So, again, I wanted to see the fire truck. I flipped the switch and waited there till I saw the fire truck pass, and then I went home. I don't know. I don't know how they knew where specifically to go because
yeah, that's weird.
it's like just on a corner, so they're just like parking there trying to figure out where the fire is. So I don't know,
that's weird.
but that's the way you would call the fire department back then because there was no.
Now we got
No cell
911.
And now you can just pick up the phone and the operator will ask you who do you need and they dispatch whether it's police, fire, or the ambulance to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then back then, if you would call 911, and the police would come, like they would get whoever needed to come beside the paramedics, the
Yeah.
fire department, or whoever, get them involved. I think it was different back then as
Yeah, I think
well.
so too, because back then everyone used to come for
Yeah,
you.
I think the police always was dispatched first to any emergency that was called in. I think. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. But I do remember that red box. And I do remember, well, I'm only bringing it up because of the
You
fact
know.
that we had no cell phones. That's how we had to call them. We had no cell. If we were outside and there was a fire and no one called it, you would just flip the switch
I wonder if
on that
they're
red
still
box.
around. Because I think
I
I've seen like at least one or two in my lifetime.
I think all cell phones and all of those boxes were removed.
Oh.
And now they have those little Omni things or whatever they're
Oh,
called,
it's
those
both a
kiosks.
charging station and similar to like a payphone.
Right, so that's kind of like the new
So
payphones. Like
yeah.
you use that now for everything. But I have seen so many changes from the time that my generation was growing up, and the music has changed,
Honestly, I think the music back then was much
technology's
better.
changed. We had great music, but technology's changed, the music has changed, people have changed. It's been so many
It's been a
differences.
progression.
hmm It's been different. And I don't think, see, this is definitely something I know for a fact that this generation could never survive without a cell phone. They could never go back in time and go into our time and live without a cell phone and without technology the way it is now.
I think technically I could.
I don't think you could.
I can.
You think you could.
I think I
You
can.
think you could, but most kids in your generation and the newer generation, I don't think that they would be able
No,
to.
they. I don't think they can because everyone is chronically online. But my generation and millennials, like Generation Z and millennials, like have had slight experience without technology.
Okay, so do you think you could go back further where there were odd houses instead of bathrooms and you had to hand wash everything in cold water and in creeks or in buckets and
Now that would
that
be a
could
challenge because that isn't something that I've ever done. But your
I,
time, probably.
right, because I know for a fact that I wouldn't be able to go back further into time where there was like no electricity and there was no running water and you had to like go to a well and fetch your own water
Yeah.
and go to an odd house instead of a toilet. I know I would not
I need
survive.
plumbing. I need plumbing.
Right.
I can't do that.
I would not be able to survive. So that's why I say the newer generation, going back to our generation, they wouldn't be able to survive
Yeah.
because it's a whole different life. It's a whole different lifestyle. It's something that they're not accustomed to. So for me, it's the same. I'm not accustomed to that lifestyle. So I would suffer. I would suffer a great deal and I would want to come back. I would definitely want to come back. So, I'm grateful for the evolution of everything, the changes and technology and the way we have the access that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful for it and I'm glad that, we've come a long way and come this far to have, these things made a whole lot easier for us because
Mm-hmm.
it has the changes have simplified our lives a lot more and made things a whole lot more convenient. Even though I'm grateful for growing up in my generation that I've experienced so much from then to now
Mm-hmm.
and seen so many changes and so many, great
And I think,
inventions and
yeah,
things that have, come out for us that we're able to have now.
yeah, and I think that that helps you have an appreciation for what we have now than what you used to have back then, because you have a lot more now than you did back then.
Right? So, living this life of seeing all these different changes and all the things that we didn't have to all the things that we have now is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And what's to come, who knows what other inventions and what other things may come from, technology and things becoming even more convenient and even more easier for us, to have in our daily lives. It's interesting, the things that we've seen, or at least the things that I've seen, because like I said, I've seen a lot of
Yeah, you've
changes
seen a lot more
throughout the years.
progression than I have. I've seen like from the very beginning.
Like, so you came in when technology was already a thing, so you weren't here when there was like no technology,
Yeah.
but you still have seen progress and you've seen things
Mm-hmm.
change and evolve, because the cell phone you had back then.
Oh my god, my first cell phone was a flip phone Nokia.
Right. So the cell phone you have from back then is not the same cell phone you have right now. So technology continues to evolve and change. And, life continues to evolve and change. And it's interesting just to think about what's to come. So it's interesting and scary at the same time.
Oof.
But I think I have said my piece. I think I don't have anything left to share.
Me neither.
I think we'll leave it there and we'll see everyone in the
In the
next.
next.